Cart, you're a big man in a place you're not supposed to be. Some people would say that that's also Zach Edey in Summer League. He shined in game one. I was pretty impressed with what I saw from the Memphis Grizzlies center. Chris Peak was not. We'll get to that later. But can we break down Zach Edey's debut in Summer League? What did you see from our beloved big man in his first NBA action?
Well, before I do that, I would like to first of all give my thanks and just my deepest just gratitude towards the sports books for allowing me to be able to bet on Zach Edey to get a double double
Mhm.
at plus money. Basically, I will never see that again. I thank you for pointing it out, Greg, but I thank you for them making that available to us because it was a gift that I don't think many people took advantage of, but the ones who did really understand how much it meant and how easy and how much of a layup it was. So for that, I appreciate it. Second of all, is this not just Zach Edey being Zach? Are we surprised? Like Zach Edey plays basketball, Zach Edey gets double doubles, Zach Edey dominates games, Zach Edey has highlight plays. He was the back-to-back National Player of the Year. He's playing against Summer League centers. Even though this one, honestly, more credit to him, Walker Kessler to me is not a Summer League center. So like I'm even more impressed by what he did in this basketball game. But this was another just walk in the park, Zach Edey experience. 15 points, 14 rebounds, 4 blocks, I believe, to go with it. An overtime tip in. He had the big plays, and I don't necessarily think he even played to the best of his ability, even at that. So I'm not going to get too deep into it before I let you go, but it was another just Zach Edey being Zach Edey experience.
Yeah, I agree with you. One, like, am I surprised? No. Are we surprised? No. I knew we wouldn't be surprised. I knew you wouldn't be surprised. But I think a lot of people are surprised. Like, I think a lot of people watched that game last night and were surprised by certain things that they saw. And that made it a very enjoyable viewing experience for someone like me or us who was watching this not surprised at all. It was fun. It was cool to see as a guy who was rooting for Zach Edey that he had success. There's a lot here. There's a lot that I want to discuss. And if you follow me on Twitter, you probably heard a lot of these things already, but I've had a chance to sleep on it a little bit and break it down a little more. Um, First off, this was the quintessential Zach Edey game. Like if I were like drawing up what does a Zach Edey game look like and what did it look like in college, it was this. Like it was a foul fest number one. There were like 63 fouls called in a summer league game. That's not supposed to happen. And oh, by the way, like a large part of why that was happening was Zach Edey. And that's not, it didn't look the same as it did in college. He didn't even attempt a free throw, Cart. So he didn't go to the line 25 times. The Zach Edey free throw merchant people can't claim that that happened. But there were like 25 screen or fouls on people trying to get through his screens. And I know like people make a lot of jokes when there's dialogue that is being had here about, hey, Zach Edey's a great screener. Look at the space he creates on the screen. I get it too. That's lame and it sounds stupid that we're actually like fixated on that being an impactful thing. But also watch NBA players try to get through his screens. They can't. Like they just start fouling because he's that good of a screener. So it was funny. It was funny watching the foul fest like translate to NBA ball. He had the poster dunk on Kessler, and yes, Kessler blocked him right before the poster dunk. I don't care. He still put him on a poster. That's the second leading shot blocker in the NBA. He had his post hook. Like I obviously would have liked to see more post touches for Zach Edey, but when he got them one on one with Walker Kessler, his post hook worked, Cart. Like I know you saw that, and I think one of the big questions is like, is he going to be able to score on legitimate NBA defensive centers? Walker Kessler is an elite NBA defensive center. He's not anything else, but he's that. And Walker Kessler had no answer for Zach Edey's post touches.
Can I correct myself quickly before we move on?
Yes.
Zach Edey should have went and played for Canada.
Mm-hmm. That's also one of my takeaways. You beat me to
Okay,
that. Yeah.
sorry, I didn't mean to
That's
make.
fine.
I'm sorry. I guess I overlooked the fact that this is summer league and this is summer league guards and summer league players. I forgot about that. My brother should be singing "Oh Canada."
Yeah, my boy Z turned down being a literal Olympian. Like, dude, that's some shit they can't take away from you, Cart.
He sacrificed being an Olympian for Gigi Jackson to go 6 for 20 and over 10 from the field and look him dead in his aura staring eyes and not throw him the pill when he's guarded by me.
It was insane. And I think that's one of my takeaways when we get to some negatives, because there were some negatives for Zach. I think there was a moment early in this game where Zach Edey realized what he has done decision-wise of not being an Olympian for this. And again, I'm not criticizing that. I think he is doing what is best for him to try and maximize his role with the Grizzlies this year. I just also think there's going to be a moment 30 years from now where Zach Edey's with his grandkids and he's like, damn, I should have been an Olympian that summer. And he'll probably be an Olympian in the future, but like, come on, man. Summer League for the Olympics. He more things from Zach Edey, though, that were like just your quintessential Zach Edey stuff. He got a tech cart. And a lot of people don't know this because a lot of people think he's just this stoic, silent man. A lot of times he is. Zach Edey has massive amounts of shit to him. Like he's a chippy MFer, for lack of a better word. And the way he picks his spots, he's kind of sneaky about it. We saw this in the Big Ten a lot. Like, he'll kind of throw a little shoulder at you if you want to start yapping. And Bryce Sensabaugh found that out last night. Like, Bryce Sensabaugh went at a Grizzlies teammate. Zach Edey threw a hip check. Like, I loved it. I love to see it. He got teed up, but it was fun.
I was torn during that.
Because you love Bryce.
I do. I was very torn during that.
Bryce ran the other direction when Big Z came.
Yeah, Bryce is smart. That's why it's a good decision by him.
Don't know that I'd say that. Other like just again through and through Zach Edey stuff. He had a moment in this game that like all the critics could be really loud about. The missed dunk with 5 seconds left. It looks like Zach Edey's gonna have the game-winning tip slam, uncontested, and he just misses it. It happens. Like he's probably sick about it, but oh well, he misses it. That's like you go through our Discord, you scroll the timeline, all the Zach Edey critics were celebrating this. Like they could not wait to put that clip up. Look at him blow it.
As they should, though, in that situation. Blowing a wide open tip dunk is crazy.
As they should. Fast forward 35 seconds later, and Zach Edey's doing some shit we don't see on a regular basis. Just going through 2 NBA big men for an obvious tip in to send the game to OT with 0.8 seconds left. Like missing a free throw intentionally never works. And again, let's remind you, this is the Jazz's starting center, Walker Kessler. He's a legitimate NBA player that's going to fetch a first-round pick in a couple days. And it's like he just got moved. He was under the basket most of this game trying to deal with Zach Edey.
Yeah, because Zach Edey's a massive human being with skill. I don't know, people might forget that.
Yeah. Automatic double-double. Even before overtime, he had the double-double. Then you get to overtime, his numbers end up 14 points, 15 rebounds. So, look, I think it's awesome. Like, as someone who is a fan of the way Zach Edey plays basketball, I think a lot of people, even college basketball fans, assumed that when he got to the NBA, his game wouldn't translate. Dog, we just watched a Zach Edey game. Everybody else on the court played a Zach Edey game in his first game in the NBA. And at this point, I don't know why it wouldn't translate, Cart. Like, I think the Grizzlies are watching this thinking, like, that's our starting center, not like this is some role player we're going to bring off the bench.
The Grizzlies should have picked up Lance Jones for their summer league team.
He would have.
Lance would have threw the ball to Edey.
Lance would have thrown the ball to Edey. Next thing, this leads me to something I'm very loud about right now. Braden Smith skeptics need to watch that game. Because anybody who has been screaming that all the Purdue guards are just Zach Edey merchants, none of the Grizzlies guards were Zach Edey merchants last night. Like,
what they shoot from 3G?
I didn't even. I think the starters were 3 for 24.
I got you. As a team, they should. Thank God for Cam Spencer going 3 for 5. And Scottie Pippen Jr. going 1 for 2. By the way, Cam Spencer hooped, of course, in his 19 minutes. Sniper did what he did. They were 7 for 36 as a team. That is 19% from 3 and 14 for 24, 58% from the line.
Yeah, it's disgusting. And like so many fouls, so many turnovers if you go look through it. I know the starters were 3 for 24 because I added it up last night. It's just but like seriously though, like the criticism for a lot of people with Braden and with Purdue has been like, well, anybody can pass the ball to Zach Edey. Nope. No, watched last
Mm-mm.
night. Not true. And I think for the first time watching that last night, a lot of people are like, wait a second, this is how good Braden Smith actually is, because he was a huge part of what made Zach Edey so good. Now, when Ja Morant gets here, I think it's going to change because this isn't us just saying this. I think Ant Wright's going to cut some of the film up. There were no less than 15 times that Zach Edey had earned position right under the hoop, either as a roll man or just sealing his dude, that if anyone with eyes gave him the basketball, he had an uncontested dunk.
Dog, simple basketball. Like if your big man has a guy on his back, and this is just any big man. Like I'm talking about like if you have Zach Edey with someone on his back at 2 feet in the paint, throw him the ball. That should be an automatic rule. Honestly, that I'm looking at the Grizzlies Summer League staff too. Like that should be something that they look at. They're like, why? Or maybe they will. Maybe we'll see some changes next game. But there should be
No,
no
we won't.
scenario, no chance.
No, good God, get him off the floor. Jackson's still on the team. Like he's not changing.
Oh God, I hate Summer League. God, can can Canada add him late?
I love Summer League. I really do. I just like I don't know. And look, we're viewing everything through a pro Zach Edey lens, obviously. But like, I just watched every single play thinking if Ja Morant's playing with him right now, Zach Edey just had an uncontested dunk. You know? I think Ja felt the same. You saw I said this in the Discord, but it's true. Zach Edey's screens were so good last night, and his roll game was just like so dominant that Ja Morant, who normally is like showing off guns on IG Live, was tweeting about his screens. Like that's the social media behavior that Ja Morant is now doing, and it's the Zach Edey effect in 20 minutes. Um, I don't know, man. I think Ja's legitimately excited to play with this dude, and I think like there would have been 15 extra points for Zach Edey if he was just playing with a real NBA point guard last night.
He should be excited though. Like that makes it, I would be too.
Yeah. So in summary, like after this game, do you feel stronger or the same? I know we both felt the same already, but like, do you feel stronger about what Zach Edey's NBA career will be?
I actually do, yeah, because I close my eyes and I picture him with good NBA players around him.
Yeah. Yeah, to me, like I think he checked all the big boxes. Like defensively, he looked pretty great, right? Like now I know like guarding this team in summer league is different than guarding NBA guards, but like Keontae George is an NBA guard. Keontae George went 5 for 21 and Zach Edey swatted him 3 times.
Yeah,
Like I think the drop coverage stuff looked legit. The rim protecting stuff looked legit. He moved so well, like that translated. He got out and ran in transition. Fatigue's not an issue. Stamina's not an issue. We did see him have the ankle turn scare, which was obviously not a good thing for anybody watching, but he came right back in 2 minutes later. So I don't know. Like I just think most of the big question marks with Zach Edey were answered very quickly. And even if you're not trying to give him post touches, like that's the big thing to me. He had 14, 15, and 4 blocks against an NBA center, the second leading guy in the league in blocks, on a night where he got 1 post touch. So that without even getting the ball, he's gonna get 14 and 15. Like
because he's nasty. Because he's
it's crazy.
good.
It's crazy. Reminder that a French dude named Zachary Rissache, who averaged 9 points a game last year, went first overall in this draft.
We won't. And the streets will not forget Gregory.
Never gonna forget. Can we talk about the bad though? Because there was a little bit of bad for Zach.
Do we have to?
Just briefly, there was a little bit.
Okay, fine.
So his first quarter, he had 2 points, 4 rebounds, I think 2 blocks and an assist. Then the entire second quarter, he had 1 uncontested dunk in transition, no other stats. Then for the first 5 minutes of the third quarter, no stats. So there was like a 10, 11-minute stretch of this game for Edey where he didn't record a stat. Now, he wasn't getting the ball, so I'm not worried about the scoring, but like he wasn't rebounding for like half of his time on the floor. Now, it speaks to how good he is as a rebounder that he still tallied 15 rebounds despite that. But there was a very real moment in time in this game where it's like, oh man, he doesn't look like himself. He looks either gassed or he's just out of position for these rebounds. Should you be concerned at all about that, or are you concerned like I am a little bit about that window?
I'm not whatsoever.
Why not?
Who was on the floor with him? I think that affects it to me. I'm not
Okay.
worried about it.
Okay. All right. My explanation of this body language PhD would be that midway through the second quarter, Zach Edey realized what he had done. Like in the first quarter, he's just excited to be out there, right? And he's running hard, he's guarding, he's involved, making his presence felt physically. Then in the second quarter, he realizes, God damn, I've buried Walker Kessler 11 times and these motherfuckers won't look at me.
Mm.
You have been there before. Shit, I've been there before, and I'm not a good basketball player. But anyone who plays basketball has been in a spot where you're like, damn, why am I not getting the rock? I deserve the rock. I think Edey felt that for the first time in his 4 years of playing basketball. Why the hell am I not getting the rock? I deserve it. And I think it affected everything. I think he was slower. I think he was jogging a little bit. I think he wasn't rebounding for 2 quarters of this game. And then something clicked back into him late where all of that went away and he was back to being his dominant self.
If for some reason Ja does not work out, the Grizzlies actually should target Braden Smith in the next couple of years.
It's a special pairing.
It works.
It really did work. Is there anything else we're missing? I feel like I had more things from that. I loved this experience so much.
I mean, the some of the displays in this game were crazy. Like Keontae George going 5 for 21, and it's like 14 for 18 from the line, whatever he was. This game was wild.
It was summer league to its purest. The debate: Khalil Ware or Zach Edey, who had the better debut? What's your answer?
Zach Edey.
Really?
Yeah, I think so. I wasn't that impressed by Khalil Ware's dominating a 6'5" center.
Khalil's were better numbers. It was basically Khalil Ware versus Fardaws, and this was Zach Edey against Walker Kessler.
I mean, if you switch the two players and put them in each other's situations, I think Khalil Ware would have ended last night with like 7-8, 7-7.
Okay. I don't know if I agree with that, but because there's something to be said about like if you're that good, wouldn't you just get the ball? Like Khalil Ware's not playing with.
I used to think that until I got to experience last night's experience, whatever that was. Yeah,
doesn't matter. Okay. I'm so happy for Zach Edey that he had a great start, and I'm rooting for this kid, obviously, but it was good to see. I think this is a very clear indication this dude's going to be in this league for as long as he wants to, and I think he's a starting center right now. And I think we can't victory lap it too much, but it was a huge step in the right direction for us as people who have been screaming, don't overlook this dude anymore. He's just really good at basketball, and the world finally saw it last night. So congrats, Zach Edey. Gigi Jackson, Jake LaRavia, I'm watching you. Okay? Listen to this. I hope this makes it to your earlobes. You probably won't be able to hear. You certainly can't see. I don't know how your senses work. Look up, young bulls. Look up. Car, you know what I love about you?
that I'm handsome.
You're reliable. I can count on you. Honestly, you remind me of Aaron Henry a little bit. Remember when, like, their back was against the wall, nothing was going right, and man just showed up every day. He didn't make excuses. There were no problems. There were just solutions.
Sounds like me.
That's you. And it also reminds me of Duncan Mechanical Solutions, because if you're looking for quality furnace repair, look no further than the heating and air experts that you can trust. Comfort and quality are their standard. They're an HVAC company that serves Northeast Indiana and Southern Michigan, whether it's heating and air conditioning, plumbing, kitchen and bath remodeling, or emergency services when you need them most. Duncan Mechanical Solutions has reliable service that you can count on. Cart, remember when your basement almost exploded?
I remember when my basement almost exploded. I remember when my furnace itself was acting funny. I remember when my AC was acting funny. I wish I had Duncan in my back pocket. I wouldn't have to worry about it.
Yeah, I mean, I've never been anywhere in northern Indiana or southern Michigan that hasn't been perfectly cool or perfectly warm, depending on when the day called for. And that's because of Duncan Mechanical Solutions. They are the presenting sponsor for the month of July. Shout out to Duncan Mechanical Solutions. Go to duncanmechanicalsolutions.com to learn more.